Welcome to AP World History. This is Chapter 26. We will be looking at the Ottoman Empire, Egypt, Sudan, and the Qing dynasty in China. Each of these areas are going to find themselves in crisis because of pressure from the West. Certainly, there were different responses to pressure from the West. Some embraced it, were educated in the West, later will become dissidents or protesters in their own country, attempting to modernize and democratize their particular country. Other areas will revolt against the West, and we'll take a look at those. Some tried to bring down their own social order. Modidists in Sudan are going to go against the British, against the Egyptians. The Taiping revolt is going to be in China, and this is going to try to bring down the Qing dynasty, and we'll take a look at that. The Ottoman Empire, often known as the sick man of Europe, had weak rulers, sultans, some who tried to reform and become more westernized, but found a lot of opposition from the Janissaries, from their own officials and the elites within the nation. So this is a slow go. Often there was corruption in the different provinces. The army was in lack of resources. It was losing its grip. There became less of a desire for artisans within their own country and a turn to Western goods. Foreign armies are going to be nipping at the heels of the Ottoman Empire, the Russians, Serbia, the Greeks, and eventually North Africa, Egypt, are all going to seek independence from the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire lasts for about 600 years. We know in 1453 they bring down Constantinople, and by 1914, by the end of the World War I, this nation will cease to exist, and from its ashes will come Turkey. This map shows the extent of the Ottoman Empire and how it slowly crumbled over the years. Known as the sick man of Europe, it just did not modernize, became more backwards, and a term I guess we'd use in the Western Europe. They didn't keep up. They weren't industrialized. Their army didn't have the latest equipment. This is going to put them at a very distinct disadvantage to Europe. Now, Europe, there was a myth that the Ottoman Empire and the Muslim nations were invincible, and this goes back to the Crusades. The first one initially was successful, but other crusades will not be as successful, and there will be clashes between the Muslim world and the Christian world from that point on. But there is a myth that they seem invincible. If we look back to the Molochs, they stopped the Mongols. Of course, they didn't face the whole Mongol army, but they were able to turn them back. They fought similar to the Mongols in that they were on horseback and light cavalry, very mobile. Of course, there were some attempts at reform, but a lot of these are going to take a long period of time. Some European nations were concerned with the potential collapse of the Ottoman Empire and just how it would be carved up and what the balance of power would be in Europe. The British will prop up the Ottoman Empire simply because they are nervous about Russia, and so they will lend their support. There are three stages of reforms in the Ottoman Empire. The first stage, the modest reforms of the 18th century, 1700s. Sultan Salim III introduced new technology like the printing press. He wanted to modernize his government. He tried to reform the Janissaries, but they were very resistant to that and pretty much threatened him into forgetting that idea. They thought everything was fine. They didn't need to be changed. After him is going to come Sultan Mahmud II, and he's going to successfully modernize the army. He will break up the Janissary. He will have an army that's more loyal to him. He will bring on some of the reforms into the country to modernize Turkey. The Tasmat reforms probably are the most significant and the ones that you probably will need to know for the AP exam. And they will last over the next 35 years or so. And this is where a lot of the Western reforms will be introduced into the Ottoman Empire. This shows Selim III and Mahmud II. Limited success in terms of reforms. Sultan Abdul Hamid is going to rule from 1878 to 1908. He was forced to against his opposition, very repressive. Eventually, he will be asked to leave. There will be a coup, a bloodless coup that ousts him by the Young Turks. And they want to give more civil liberties and a constitution, more democracy within the Ottoman Empire. But these Tasmat reforms are certainly going to help Ottoman Empire industrialize and become more closely aligned with the West. Here shows again he was very repressive and restricting personal freedoms. The Young Turks are going to ask for a new constitution, and they're going to seek more democracy in Turkey or Ottoman Empire. The 1908 coup is supported by the military, who will introduce educational reforms. The status of women is not going to improve much. They certainly faced a lot of factional fighting, different groups within the Ottoman Empire, pressure from without in terms of the different nations nipping at their heels. The Arabs weren't particularly enamored with the Turks, but they preferred them over the Europeans. And eventually the Ottoman Empire will come to an end in 1914, essentially because they backed the wrong nations in World War I. They will back the Germans, and they will lose. And because of that, the Ottoman Empire will be carved up even further. And you can see some of the dates when parts of Europe and North Africa and the Middle East broke from the Ottoman rule. During World War I, if you've ever seen Lawrence of Arabia, this is the British will be fighting against the Ottoman Empire, the Turks, during World War I. This shows the empire. The Europeans carve up the Ottoman Empire after World War I, and this shows some of the nations that were created from that. Certainly, the crisis in Arab portions of the empire was the same. The Arabs of the Islamic world, the heartland, will reject Western ideas and Western religions. They will try to eventually fight a jihad against the West. While Arabs resented the Turkish rule, they prefer that to the Western powers. The Ottoman crisis creates fear for the West, and who will take over the empire after it's gone. And we're going to stop here, and we'll pick this up next time, and we will talk about Egypt Well, maybe we'll go on here. We've got a little bit of time. Um, Only that Napoleon in 1798 attacks Egypt. Uh, why he goes there is for various reasons. Historians are not exactly sure. Some believe he went there to receive mystical powers from the Egyptians, others to block advances of the British. While he's there, he will attack the Mullahs, who are running Egypt, and he will literally destroy their army. After the French withdraw, they're forced out by the British. Muhammad Ali will take over as ruler. One of the interesting things about Napoleon's attack on the Mullahs and Egypt is there was most felt that this couldn't be done, that they were too strong for Europeans to attack them. But once on the battlefield, they were just no match for the French. The secret words, by the way, for this particular video is Sick Man of Europe, which refers to the Ottoman Empire. So Sick Man of Europe. Muhammad Ali will try to modernize Egypt after the French leave. He will attempt to bring in industrialization to Egypt, but the Europeans will block that. He will buy some military equipment and upgrade his army, but not to the extent that the Europeans have. Most of what he tried to do was a bit frustrated. He wasn't able to accomplish what he wanted to do. This is a picture of Muhammad Ali. Of course, we talked about in class, not the fighter. Ali's successors are called Khedives, or rulers. There aren't very many good ones after Muhammad Ali. They will attempt to build the Suez Canal. It will bankrupt them. They will call in investors, British, to finish the canal. Probably one of their more notable things while they were in charge. The Khedives will prove to be terrible rulers, wasteful, inept, only looking out for themselves. One side stressed borrowing from the West to innovate. Other side, there would seem to be a fight over who was going to control the Islamic world. There was a hope that maybe a jihad could be fought to force the Westerners out. Maudid Ahmad is going to lead this jihad, this holy war against the British, and we're going to stop there, and we'll come back and pick this up next time.